Okay, so in this pretty short video, what we're going to do is go through uh, one trade that was taken on Friday during London session, pre-London, and then just a quick overview of the week ahead. So hopefully that overview or speculation for the week ahead might be able to provide people a bit of direction, or at least help them understand their bias. Okay, so let's start off on the 1 hour chart on GBPJPY. I arrive at the charts about 6 a.m. in the morning. So essentially what I do for how I trade is mark up that point at 6 a.m. in which I know after which I can start looking for trades. This teal zone here, which you can see, is just kind of called kill zones. It's a bit of an indicator. Well, it's not an indicator, it's just a line on the chart really. Tells you when London Open is. So I just use that a bit of as like a visual reference to know when volume's likely to start coming into the market. Okay, so yeah, I mean you can put on New York sessions, the actual full London session, New York kill zone, but I just use London because that's all I trade. So we'll set up here, then all we're going to start doing is marking zones up. Okay, so firstly we want to see where we've come from. So during basically London Open, the session open, the daily open, okay, been rejecting this sort of area up here. So how I kind of do this is, if this is the clearest zone on the 1 hour chart, which it is here, mark that as a 1 hour level, pay attention to. And then essentially what we're going to do is, well, at this point here, we're looking left, see what the most significant levels are. So here again, we've got 1 hour level. Okay, so let's just check what the 4 hour is doing as well. So it's important to understand that after the market open at 10 p.m., so the previous day, previous to Friday, we've got this bearish, very weakly bearish 4 hour rejection candle. And then the 2 a.m. 4 hour candle closed bearish as well with a wick to the downside. So the first two 4 hour candles in the session were bearish. So that kind of gives you a bit of an indication of where we're likely to continue going. Okay, so with that in mind, once this candle's closed and it comes to a session time at 6 a.m., we can kind of say to ourselves, well, the previous two 4 hour candles were bearish, so maybe that would make more sense during our session. Okay, but most cases we're going to see an upper wick on the 4 hour if that was going to be the case. In this particular instance, we didn't see that 4 hour wick, but we just keep it in mind. Okay, so we're then arriving at our 1 hour chart, and we've just said we've marked up our levels here. Again, let's just mark on this level because this is the 1 hour. We want to also be aware of any 4 hour levels that are important. Okay, so we've kind of marked out this level here. This is a 1 hour. I would also say that here, based on all these candles closing below here, this candle closing below here and then looking left, that this is quite an important 4 hour level. Okay, so we'll get that marked in as well. And then essentially, if you want to just be quite comprehensive, you can mark down this level down here. But I don't think during this time it would have mattered anyway, because it's still quite far away from there. So let's go back to his 1 hour. I think we're pretty much ready to start analyzing. So imagine at this point in the market, none of this has happened. So this is hindsight, but it is a trade I did take, so I will go through it. Okay. So now we're on to the 30-minute chart. It's important to note that this support here was actually the Asian low. So this is just for reference. We can see this is Asian low, and essentially this up here. So this was, you could call it Asian high. Kind of call this area. This case Asian high. Okay. Let's do this in a different way. 1 second. Actually, let's change the color of this. Make it pretty. Okay, Asian high. So we've now arrived at our session, 6 a.m. We've seen that this was the previous 1 hour resistance. The charts made Asian high, which happens to be a resistance which is lower than the previous. So again, visual references is always really important. Overall, we've started taking steps downwards Plus, we've seen already that the 4-hour candles, the initial red bearish one rejected this upper zone. The next one closed bearish at 6 a.m. Okay, so now we've got a bit of a bias. We're stepping down. We've seen 2 4-hour candles bearish. Now at this point, this was the break below the 1-hour support zone. Trades could have been possibly taken at this level, okay, because what you've got here is you've got this candle breaking below the 1-hour level, so the 30-minute broke below with a wick to the downside, so you've kind of got a wick fill target here if you just wanted to take that, but that's only 4 pips, you see. And the problem with this one here is, well, we're actually still above. So if you're looking at the 30-minute here, we're still above this level, so kind of having to hope that this level gets broken for us to continue down. Granted that we're now coming towards 7 a.m., 7:30, 8 a.m., which is when most of the volume kicks in for this particular session. It's still important to be cautious and watch out for maybe this now pulling, just rejecting here and then continuing back up to retest the maybe Asian high. Okay, so for me that wasn't a very safe trade to be taking, especially because it was a Friday as well. So as you probably all know, Fridays you should be a little bit more cautious, but the move still worked in this session, so it doesn't really matter. To me, I guess from here to here, so this was only 9.7 pips, which I'm sure you'll agree that's not much of a range. So to me, it made more sense to kind of wait for candles to break below this level in which you've got all this kind of range to play with, which is 25 pips. So here, this was not an entry because, well, it's still above this 30-minute support. This would not be an entry because then you've only got 7 pip range. So 30-minute here, based on what we can see, there's no entries really here for me in the way I trade. Okay. Now, the first candle we actually saw that broke below this level, which is what we're talking about structure, was this 15-minute one here. So I'm just going to draw an arrow to here. Okay. And we're just going to evaluate this candle. So what can we see? Well, it broke below 1-hour support. It was quite a relatively large bearish candle, and importantly, it had a lower wick acting as a range for the next candle. Okay, so 3 pieces of information. Yeah, broke below this 1-hour support. It's quite a strong candle with quite a lot of volume, so indication that the volume starting to kick in. And we do also have this lower wick to act as a target, which is actually 5 pips. So that's pretty respectable in terms of a wick fill target. Okay. Now, again, going back to, we've got these steps down. As far as candles are indicating to the downside. At this point, the 4-hour candle's pretty bearish because the candle that closed at 6 a.m., which was this one here, was bearish, and we've moved down ever since. Okay. So now what you can do is, if you're into this kind of lower time frame trading, which is what I've been doing recently. I do apologize for the lack of content, but I've been focusing on other things, i.e. career paths, rather than trading. But I'm starting to get back into it, so it's all good. Okay. Anyway, so now this is our kind of confirmation candle, which we're looking for sells. Okay, so we're going with this overall downside bias. Now we need to, in this case, how I've been working is looking for these entries on the lower time frames. So we've got this candle that, where did it close? Here? Yeah, it closed here. So after, sorry, 1 second. What time did this close? Get this right. Okay, 7:15. So, okay, this candle here, after this one closed, this was a 15-minute candle. What happened is the next candle pushed up, still remaining below this 1-hour support zone that we've said we've broken. But it's bullish, so again, there's still no trade. However, the one after closed as quite a strong bearish 5-minute candle, indicating that support had been actually established at this point. So basically what we're saying is, well, we've broken below this support level, which is a confirmation for, yeah, we're probably going to start heading down back to these sort of targets. But to make sure we don't become a part of the wick or just a fake out below this zone, we're going to want to look for some sort of resistance forming. Key criteria for the resistance forming, it's got to either be below this 1 hour resistance level, okay, at least. Well, that's the most important, okay. So if it closes below here, that's really good. But worst case scenario, it still remains closing below the Asian lows or the previous level. So what you're basically saying here is even if resistance formed up here, you've still got these steps of lower highs forming, okay. So this one, another step down, and then either it could be here, or in this case, which was even better, it was there, okay. So we've got them lower steps forming, okay. So at this point, what you can say is, well, you can kind of take an entry as this either closes or as it breaks this low here, okay. Let's zoom in a bit more, be a bit more um, analytical. Okay. So saying if as long as it breaks down below this low after it's formed this 5-minute resistance, we should be good to go. So you'd want a stop loss below here, and let me just check where I entered so I can show you. So 784 was entry. Okay, so this is a bit low down. So 784 entry. Okay, and stop loss was, well, that doesn't matter. It was above, just above there. And then where's my exit? 684. Okay, so that was essentially my trade. So that was a 6.4 pip stop loss to 10 pip target. Okay, now the ultimate target for this part was based on this. Where's it go? It's 4-hour level. Okay, should marked up here because all these candles were closing below. It was closing below this level. And again, looking on the 1 hour, it kind of makes sense to go down to this sort of area where you've got this consolidation zone, this wick to fill, and 30-minute again. Candles are playing around this level. So my target was conservative, realistic is probably the best word, and 10 pips, which in most cases GJ is always going to push down, especially at this time. I mean, we're now approaching 7:30 to 8 a.m., which is the volume time for GJ. So that was the trade for this one. Okay, pretty straightforward. I will go over them sort of entries again in later videos, but essentially what you're doing is one candle is going to tell you that a support or resistance has been broken, and then to avoid being part of the fake outs or just to get a better entry with minimal drawdown, you're going into these really small time frames. So basically your idea is set on a sell straight away. Once this 15-minute candle closes below here with a wick, you're basically saying, yeah, I want to sell, I'm going to take a sell. But this candle, if you wanted to keep your stop loss above here, it's not great, 13 pips. So all we're doing here is being able to reduce our stop loss size and that therefore increase our risk to reward by looking for these resistance forming. Okay, so that's pretty simple, I think. Resistance form below the broken level, also in line with the upper or higher time frame bias, so the steps down, the 4-hour candles, which had previously closed bearish, and also noting the the 30-minute resistances that closed Asian high was much lower than the previous 30-minute resistance. Okay, got that bias. So that's our trade done with. Let's clear this off. And let's just do a really quick bit of analysis for GJ for the upcoming week. Okay, so starting with the weekly. I'm just going to hide these kill zones for now. It looks a bit messy. So first thing, I always ask myself higher time frames is where are we likely going? If we're going to start moving up, where we're likely going. Okay, so here, this week full target on the weekly. What's price currently doing? Well, GJ is very bullish. So straight away we've got GJ is really bullish. If it's bullish, where's it likely going to? This sort of area. We've already filled this wick, so it makes sense that we've kind of rejected a little bit. But if we're continuing with these many weeks of bullish momentum, we're probably going to go up and break this wick, make a higher high, probably somewhere into this area. Daily time frame. Again, going off that bias weekly time frame bias. Yeah, this candle closed bearish, but it did reject. We're at this level. as long as price stays above, I'd say, above the high of this daily candle, I'm pretty sure we're probably good to go up further. I'm not saying it's going to be on Monday, it might be midweek, but as long as we stay above here, we should be good to go up. Probably fill this wick first before heading up here. Okay. Now, we know what we're doing now, just on higher time frames. We don't need to keep them lines on. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, let's just draw our 4-hour zones on. So I'm sure you'll agree when I say we're starting to step up on GJ. There's no reason at all you shouldn't have a bullish bias at this point. Until structure's broken on this 4-hour time frame, there's no reason to switch to a selling bias. Sure, you can do it, and like I said, my Friday trade was bearish, which is against this overall high time frame bias, but on the higher time frames, there's no reason at all you should be saying that GJ is currently bearish. The only time it's going to become bearish is when one of these lows is broken, and basically if you get down below here, so this recent higher low, start to form resistances below this level, certainly below this level. Okay, so if it breaks this low and pulls up, maybe could pull up to this area to make a resistance, or even as long as it stays below these highs. Okay, so it's made this lower low. As long as it makes a lower high here, we should be saying that bias GJ 4-hour time frame is changing to bearish. Okay. But anyway, going off the bullish bias, what we see still, I would like to see price breaking up and above this level on the 4-hour time frame, some sort of retest. Now that'll be coming on the smaller time frames. I'm not saying we're going to take buys as soon as we see a 4-hour candle break and retest this level. Okay, but ideally what you want to see is if we're continuing with this bullish bias here like this, we want to see a new higher high formed, okay, and a new higher low formed. That could certainly be on this level or maybe down here, as long as it remains above this support, this higher low here. As long as price makes a new higher low, we should be good to continue up. Okay, so it's just something to watch out for. I'm not going to go any lower than the 4-hour time frame because I don't really see much point at this time of the week. Markets are going to set up and show you what they want to do. So overall summary of what we've just gone through: GJ's bias 4-hour time frame, weekly time frame, daily time frame. I mean, we're stuck at resistance, but we're anticipating that to get broken, a new higher high formed, maybe a retest. But important to note that if we start breaking below these 4-hour higher lows, certainly this one, then structure on GJ 4-hour time frame bias is moving to the downside. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. Surely you can take a little bit of information away from there. Any questions, feel free to message me on here or Instagram, although I'm not that active on Instagram anymore. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that stuff. I don't know, whatever streamers and YouTubers do these days. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.